Christmas in Los Angeles usually means palm trees wrapped in twinkling lights, a gentle breeze rustling through their fronds, and the city basking in a golden glow. The holidays here are more about sunglasses than scarves, and the only white Christmas we know is the foam on the waves at the beach. Most years, December brings clear blue skies, warm afternoons, and the kind of weather that makes you forget winter exists at all. Snow and sleigh bells are just stories we see in movies, not something we expect to find outside our doors. But in 2025, everything changed. Mother Nature delivered a storm so fierce, it shattered every expectation. Instead of a laid-back holiday, we found ourselves bracing against a force we'd never seen before. The rain came down in sheets, relentless and unyielding, turning our holiday into a fight for safety and survival. The downpour began on Christmas Eve, catching everyone off guard. It didn't just drizzle, it poured, hour after hour, with no sign of stopping. The sound of rain replaced the usual holiday music, and the city's festive spirit quickly faded into anxiety. Streets that were once busy with last-minute shoppers and holiday lights became rivers, impassable and dangerous. The LA River, usually a trickle, swelled and overflowed, swallowing sidewalks and parking lots. The city became unrecognizable, transformed by water and worry. Our infrastructure, designed for endless sunshine, simply couldn't cope. Drains backed up, stormwater systems failed, and water rushed over curbs, flooding homes and businesses. It was a stark reminder of how unprepared we were for this kind of disaster. The festive mood vanished, replaced by emergency alerts on our phones and the constant drumming of rain on rooftops. Streets that should have been filled with laughter and celebration were eerily empty, the only sound the relentless storm. Families found themselves stranded in their homes, unable to visit loved ones or continue cherished traditions. Travel plans were ruined, and entire neighborhoods were cut off by rising water. The sense of isolation was overwhelming, as if the city itself had been put on pause. Holiday lights meant to bring joy now shimmered on the surface of floodwaters, their reflections dancing on streets that had become rivers. The contrast was surreal, a city decorated for celebration, submerged in crisis. This Christmas wasn't about gifts or feasts. It was about checking on neighbors, sharing supplies, and hoping the water would stop rising. People came together, offering help and comfort, even as uncertainty loomed. The storm was a powerful reminder that even in sunny LA, nature can surprise us in ways we never imagined. Lightning split the sky, thunder echoed through empty streets, and we realized how vulnerable we really are. For a city more accustomed to droughts and heat waves, this was a wake-up call, a lesson in humility and respect for the forces beyond our control. We're used to worrying about earthquakes and wildfires, not floods. Our emergency plans and stories are built around shaking ground and burning hills, not water rising at our doorsteps. But this Christmas, it was resilience, not celebration, that defined our city. Neighbors became heroes, strangers became friends, and the true spirit of the holidays shone through in acts of kindness and courage. It was a holiday no one will ever forget, a Christmas marked not by what we lost, but by how we came together, and how we found hope in the storm. To truly grasp the scale of this storm, you have to look beyond the headlines and dive into the numbers. The data tells a story that words alone can barely capture. A story of a city caught off guard by the sheer force of nature. Los Angeles is famous for its sunshine, with blue skies dominating most of the year. Typically, the city receives just 12 to 18 inches of rain annually, and that's usually spread out in gentle drizzles and the occasional shower over several months. But this time, the skies opened up in a way that few could have predicted. In just 3 days, some neighborhoods were hit with more than 6 inches of rain, an amount that would normally take half a year to accumulate, all falling in a single, relentless weekend. Our drainage systems, designed for much lighter rainfall, simply couldn't keep up. Water spilled over curbs, storm drains gushed like fountains, and intersections turned into temporary lakes. For many communities, this was the wettest Christmas Eve and Christmas Day in modern history. Instead of the usual holiday cheer, families found themselves navigating flooded streets and watching as water crept closer to their homes. The culprit? An atmospheric river, a powerful moisture-laden current in the sky, funneled storm after storm straight into Southern California. This rare phenomenon shattered rainfall records across the region. Normally, Angelenos expect a few rainy days before the sun returns, restoring the city's familiar golden glow. But this time, the rain was unyielding, day after day, with barely a break in the clouds. The relentless downpour, left the ground saturated, unable to absorb any more water. Parks and green spaces became muddy swamps, and puddles grew into ponds. Streets, parks, and even major freeways were drenched, as if a giant fire hose had been turned on the city. Cars stalled in rising water, and entire neighborhoods found themselves cut off by floodwaters. With nowhere else to go, the water surged into homes and businesses. Sandbags and barriers offered little protection as basements flooded and storefronts filled with water, leaving residents and business owners scrambling to save what they could. This storm didn't just break records, it rewrote our weather history. News broadcasts flashed comparisons to past storms, but nothing quite matched the scale of this event. It was a stark warning that our climate is shifting, and the extremes are becoming our new normal. The familiar rhythm of LA's mild winters has been replaced by wild swings between drought and deluge. The city now faces a future where weather extremes are not the exception, but the rule. For Los Angeles, this was more than just a storm, it was a wake-up call. The entire city, from officials to everyday residents, must now reckon with a new reality and prepare for whatever comes next. Los Angeles looked like a disaster movie, only it was real. Streets became rivers, swallowing cars and flooding neighborhoods. The LA River, usually a trickle, turned into a raging torrent, threatening nearby communities. Major freeways shut down, and even airports flooded. The city, built for movement, was brought to a standstill. Flooding seeped into every part of life: homes, businesses, and mountain towns. In Wrightwood, a debris flow buried cars and homes. In Woodland Hills, trees toppled onto roads. Everywhere, the story was the same. Too much water, too fast. The city was under siege from the sky. It was chaos on a scale LA had never seen. Amid the chaos, the storm's true toll was human. At least 3 people lost their lives, turning a weather event into tragedy. Sacramento Sheriff's Deputy James Caravallo died on duty when his vehicle crashed on a rain-slicked highway. In San Diego, Roberto Ruiz was killed by a falling tree. In Mendocino, a woman was swept into the sea. These weren't just statistics, they were loved ones lost during what should have been a joyful time. The pain of these losses will linger long after the floodwaters recede. The storm's deepest wounds are measured in empty chairs and grieving families. The human cost is permanent. Even in disaster, heroes emerged. First responders and everyday people risked their lives to save others. Swift water rescue teams braved dangerous currents to reach the stranded. In one case, a woman swept 10 miles down the Tujunga Wash was miraculously rescued. Helicopter crews saved a man, his dog, and his cat from an RV surrounded by floodwaters. Deputies waded through waist-deep water to help trapped motorists. These acts of bravery shone through the storm's darkness. The human spirit proved stronger than the flood. In the worst of times, LA's community came together. These heroes gave us hope. Facing disaster, the government acted fast. Governor Newsom declared a state of emergency for 6 counties, unlocking vital resources. Emergency teams and swift water rescue crews were deployed to the hardest-hit areas. Caltrans prepared for massive road repairs, and the National Guard stood ready. Evacuation orders were issued for high-risk communities, especially near burn scars. These decisions, based on expert analysis, saved lives. The coordinated response was essential to managing the crisis. Government action set the stage for recovery. This flood was shocking, but California is no stranger to extremes. In fact, the state has always been defined by its wild swings in weather and climate. From the snow-capped peaks of the Sierra Nevada to the sun-baked deserts of the South, California is a land where nature's power is on full display. But in recent years, these extremes have become even more pronounced, testing the resilience of communities across the state. Just a year earlier, we battled record drought and devastating wildfires. The air was thick with smoke, and entire towns braced for evacuation as flames raced across the hills. Water reservoirs shrank to historic lows, and the land itself seemed to crack under the relentless sun. The land went from bone-dry and flammable to waterlogged and dangerous. In a matter of months, the same fields that had been starved for rain were suddenly overwhelmed by torrents of water, turning dust into mud and rivers into raging floods. Burn scars from wildfires made flooding and debris flows even worse. Without vegetation to hold the soil, hillsides became unstable, and heavy rains unleashed torrents of mud and debris, threatening homes and lives below. Rain on these scars runs off like water on pavement, triggering deadly mudslides. The ground, stripped bare by fire, can't absorb the deluge, sending walls of mud and water hurtling downhill with little warning. The fires of 2024 set the stage for the floods of 2025. Each disaster seems to pave the way for the next, creating a relentless chain reaction that leaves little time for recovery. It's a vicious cycle: drought, fire, then flood. Each event feeds into the next, making it harder for communities and ecosystems to bounce back. Climate change is amplifying these swings. Scientists warn that as temperatures rise, California will see even more intense droughts, fiercer wildfires, and heavier rains, all in rapid succession. California is now a poster child for climate extremes. The world is watching as we confront the challenges of living on the front lines of a changing planet. Our communities are left reeling, caught between too little water and far too much. Families rebuild again and again, never sure what the next season will bring. This is the new reality, a land of extremes, where adaptation and resilience are more important than ever before. Why are we swinging from drought to flood? Scientists call it hydroclimate whiplash. Climate change is making weather more extreme and unpredictable. Warmer air holds more moisture, fueling intense storms and atmospheric rivers. At the same time, droughts last longer and hit harder. Our infrastructure was built for a milder climate, not these violent swings. Experts warn this is our new normal: long dry spells, then superstorms. We must rethink how we manage water, build communities, and prepare for disaster. Adapting is the only way forward. When the rain stopped, LA's true spirit emerged. The damage was immense, but the community came together. Neighbors helped neighbors, strangers lent a hand, and hope returned. The headlines missed the quiet acts of kindness and resilience. Recovery will be long and hard, but Angelenos are determined. We must rebuild, adapt, and learn from this storm. The people of LA have always risen after disaster. This time will be no different. Let's remember the heroism, the unity, and the light that broke through the darkness. Even in our darkest hours, kindness prevails. Los Angeles will rise again.